Hey, what's up everyone? Today's video is a bit more unusual. It's about my guitar ownership history, which is probably just interesting to the absolute hardcore fans of the channel. But here we go. I've got my list here, which I made, which looks to be long, but it's not that long, considering it's been 10 years now. And I know some people who own this many guitars, you know, at one point in time. This is my all-life list, actually. So yeah, let's start right away. So the first guitar that I've ever had, electric guitar, was an Epiphone Nighthawk. I didn't buy this guitar, I've got it from my sister. She used to play guitar, and I started with classical guitar and I switched to electric at some point. So I've got that and played a couple of years on that. Then I quickly got into metal and I bought my first own guitar, and that was an Ibanez ARZ 700, a Les Paul style guitar with EMG pickups. Guitars had to have EMG pickups back then. It's absolute must have if you play metal. Really liked that guitar, was super happy with it. Then I started to become that genty boy. Yeah, so I traded that Les Paul style Ibanez at the store for an Ibanez 7-string, the first Iron Label series, the RG IR27 BK, which was also an excellent guitar. I've heard some stories about the Iron Labels being crappy, but that one was really solid. I ended up modding it, actually, so it got a custom pickguard and a DiMarzio deactivators. However, I thought it did not really improve the sound of the guitar, and it just was very, very expensive because I've had it done professionally by a luthier, and yeah, it was a bit of a flop. Ended up selling that to a local friend in Luxembourg, which I still happen to see from time to time, and I know his band, and he still uses the guitar in the band. That's really cool. But before I sold that, I bought another Ibanez, an RGD 2120Z in cobweb silver metallic. I went to Paris for this guitar because it was the last one in stock. I think this was in 2012. And I've got it for a reduced price because it was the absolute last one I could find in Europe, which was new. So yeah, extra went to Paris and bought that because I've seen the video of Ola Englund demoing the Thar FBM 100 or so, and he used that guitar in the video, and I thought it was just the sickest looking guitar I've ever seen. Also the baritone, and that, you know, that finish looked like it was made of stone, so I just had to add that. Also ended up completely modifying this. I've had it resprayed and I've installed bare knuckle aftermaths in it, red ones. After the mod, I wasn't that happy with the guitar anymore, to be honest, and I've sold it in 2018, I believe. Yeah. Another Ibanez, you may notice this list has a lot of ABs in it, is an RGA 8-string, which I've bought off a friend, I think in 2013. When he bought this guitar, and I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I didn't understand it. I thought 8 strings were just stupid and too much. So he lent me the guitar, and I've sit down and I've wrote a song the first evening when I had it home. So I've got kind of hooked. I bought it from him and I've used it in my band Solange for a couple of years actually, and I wrote that entire EP, Solange EP, on that guitar. And it's one of the musical pinnacles, I would say, that I've reached for myself. So yeah, that was that guitar. It's just an Indonesian-made RGA. Sometime before that, I think. So this is happening, you know, simultaneously, parallel, whatever. I've tried to pay attention to the chronological order, but it's overlapping sometimes and it's going backwards and forwards. So at some point I owned a Harley Benton Telecaster, which cost like, I think, 120 euros. It was a fun guitar, but I've quickly lost interest and I sold it to a very, very good friend as well, who still has it. No, I didn't sell it. I traded it, I think, for a MIDI controller. Yeah, traded that guitar. Now, it started to get interesting. Carvin DC 700, that was my first expensive guitar. That was my first custom guitar, which I've got in 2015 with the help of my parents after I graduated secondary school, and still own this guitar. I will never sell this ever in my entire life. I really need to do a 5-year ownership or so this year, because that review of the guitar was actually my very first demo that kind of, you know, started this channel being about gear and not just music on my band Solange. Yeah. Then came a guitar which was the beginning of something, you know, just buying and selling. I've got a Ran Crusher 7-string for no fucking reason, but I thought it was cool. And that guitar was absolutely fantastic. It was so good. For 1,300 euros, this was a perfect guitar. Sounded beastly, but I don't know, I couldn't, you know, couldn't bear that I had 2 7-strings. I would just use one at a time anyway. So in 2017, I've bought the Markline 049. I've never heard of Markline before at that point, and he was selling that in stock model, and it had a flame maple neck, and I just, wow, it's so cool, and I've got a good price for it. And that was the point where I started to get a strong relation with Marco from Markline. Up to now, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had 5 or 6 Marklines on the channel so far. So yeah, really glad that I bought that guitar. I've had it for 2 years, and then I sold it because I thought I had used it enough. It wasn't giving me that much inspiration anymore. And yeah, I feel bad sometimes for selling stuff, but I'm just a person who needs fresh things. I don't know. It's probably why I mod guitars as well. So yeah, a guitar no one probably knows anything about, but I've actually owned that guitar, was an overloud Themis multi-scale headless guitar, an 8-string, that I got in late 2016. Now the story behind this is I wasn't that happy with the guitar. It was an absolute beast, don't get me wrong, but the overall process, it took 10 months to have the guitar built from the initial deposit to getting the guitar delivered, with basically no updates in those 10 months. Yeah, there was a little issue with the fret end job that I wasn't happy about, so we've had a little fight, but you know, I didn't want to make this a big thing, so I just sold the guitar, and you know, that chapter was over for me. Yes, I think before that, or at the same time, I've owned a Ibanez RG 721 Flame Maple FM in black ice, which was an amazing guitar look-wise, but it just didn't have that resonance I was looking for. It was a bit, you know, I don't know, it sounded a bit cheap to my ears. So I sold that again. Yeah, just had that for a couple of months, I think. Then I bought a guitar out of China, which ended up being in a very popular, if not the most popular video on my channel, the Grote Headless Strandberg copy, which was really fun to play, but it has an absolutely shitty bridge. Sold that to a very good friend, who sold it again now to the other friend who actually bought my album label. So yeah, it's all in the family. Now, because that video had so much interest, I thought, you know what, why not do that again and get some Chinese crap again. I was surfing on AliExpress, and I've got myself a Mayonnaise, or how I used to call it, the Chinonis Duval, which was a copy of a Duval 6-string. It was playable, it was fun, but it was also quirky and weird at some point, and it was just such a fucking fake bitch that I thought I can't do that. You know, I can't show this on my channel and, you know, promote a fake instrument. You know, I wasn't thinking about that with the Strandberg copy, but with the Duval, just couldn't do it. I just sold it, never showed it to anyone. Yeah. Then came another custom build from Kiesel. I've got myself a Vanquish just about 2 years ago, or exactly 2 years ago, because yesterday I've actually sold that guitar, and yesterday, 2 years ago, it was the day that I got it. Absolute monster of a guitar. That sounded so freaking beastly. But over those 2 years, I started noticing that I play 7-string less and less. I don't play 8-string at all. I was focusing more on the 6-string, and so I thought, why not use that money for maybe a new guitar, project guitar, like, the Strat. So yeah, Ibanez RGR 465 in candy apple red. Absolutely mint condition, this guitar. There was no single scratch on it. It was very, very beautiful, but it was not that fun to play. The tram system sucked. It was just buying because why not? So I sold it. Why not? Ibanez RGR 321 EX. That was the very, very first project guitar, a real project guitar that I've bought for this channel, which I sprayed yellow. Very, very fun guitar to play. It sounded really, really good. I've sold it to a guy who I was in touch with, who sold it to a guy who got in contact with me, and I'm also in touch with. So it's still here in Germany, still in touch with the owner, and it's nice to see that guitar going around. Then for a couple of weeks I've had a guitar which looked like a Wolfgang EVH, but it was from a brand called Silvertone. I have no idea about this brand. I've got this guitar from a friend for 100 bucks. It was mint condition, played well, sounded great, but I had no fucking use for it. So I sold that to a beginner, a girlfriend of a friend of mine who made use of the guitar, I think. Ibanez RG 7421. The 7-string, cheap 7-string mod project, which was probably the biggest pain in the ass I've ever put myself through, because removing that finish was just horrible, and putting that veneer on was horrible, and it turned out crazy. It was the most insane project I've ever done. But at that point I said to myself, okay, you don't want to do that again. Probably could have been building a new body in the time that I've spent sanding off that finish. Yeah, actually a few months later I've built my first electric guitar from scratch. In the meantime, I've bought, last year, I think in April, I bought the Charvel DK24 Pro Mod, this one actually, which I still have, and it's probably one of my favorite guitars ever, believe it or not. But I love this thing so much, it just sounds exactly the way I imagine guitar sound to be. Especially with the HSH configuration and the roasted maple neck, which still, after 1 year, smells like maple syrup, which is really nice. I'm actually thinking about modding this guitar as well, but just the finish, because I've kind of, it's cool depending on the lighting. How the matte army drab looks, but it's just a bit too dark and it doesn't look really nice on camera, so I might change that. Ibanez RG 420 FA, a 1998 or 1999 model, absolutely beautiful guitar. It was actually the most filthy guitar that I've ever touched. It wasn't played for I think 10 years or so. It wasn't looked after, it was never cleaned. I've cleaned that and I've sold it. I've got that actually in a package from someone who stopped playing guitar. I've got it for 390 euros, including an Engel Fireball. So it was, the price of a Fireball or the price of the guitar itself, but, for both things. So it was the best deal I've ever made in my life. So in the end, selling the guitar, I've got an Engel Fireball for 140 euros. Yes, don't get that every day. Then shortly after that, or before the Ibanez actually, I've bought the Kasuga Les Paul Custom, which I still have, but I'm looking to sell that. I love the guitar, but I don't play it because it's not my style. Les Paul is definitely not my style, not my taste, so I want to sell it. I don't collect guitars, sorry. Last but not least, we have the Squier Deluxe Strat, which is also a killer guitar and will be modified soon with a new neck. by Warmouth, if you missed that. So watch the channel if you want to see that mod project. This is actually the last guitar that I've bought so far. Wondering what the next one is going to be, but for now I'm good. The Keesley's gone. I want the Kasuga gone. I want the Ironheart gone. I want some gear gone, so I can maybe afford some new things or other things. You know, car costs as well. What I haven't touched are acoustic guitars and basses. I've owned 2 acoustic guitars, 2 Ibanez guitars. Still own one right now. I do have an Ibanez SR 1305, a 5-string bass from 1993 actually, which is older than me, 2 years. And in 2019 I've bought this absolutely awesome Harley Benton because I'm recording a lot in drop B, and yeah, wanted to have a 4-string. Absolute steal for $199. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching, if you made it this far. If it was any interesting, but that is my ownership history. I think some people own more guitars at one point in time than I've did in the last 10 years. As always, shout out to my patrons who are supporting me and my channel. If you want to do so as well, please head over to patreon.com/solange and sign up for a little tier. Anything would make me happy. You can set a limit as well. It helps me doing these videos, you know, buying strings, buying picks, and all this little stuff. Sometimes I need a new cable because one breaks, and it's really cool to get that kind of support, and it's not, I don't take this for granted, you know. So thank you very much again. Yeah, take care, and I'll see you next time.